Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our show, Spin the Career Wheel with Nikhil Malhotra. Today on our show, we have Dr. Harpreet Kandra from Institute of Innovation, Science and Sustainability, Federation University, Australia. Come join in with us in this discussion. Hi, Professor Harpreet. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Nikhil, for having me. And for your audience, namaste, sat shri akal, salam, good day.
Thank you so much. I think everybody will love someone from Indian origin now in Australia. So I think I would like to start. We want to know more about your journey from studying engineering in India to now teaching engineering in Australia.
A very good way to start, Nikhil. And often I, reflect how, I have got to Australia teaching engineering there and what I'm doing and how I can contribute. Interestingly, in 1992, I had an option to study, mechanical engineering or the traditional civil engineering. And I thought, why not, do something different? And I signed up for civil engineering with specialization in environment.
Oh,
And all of my friends, my relatives were laughing at me. How, environment is a fashion statement. In 1992, environment was a fashion statement.
right.
And now when, I meet those people and talk to them about air pollution, climate change, and when they are drinking water of a bottled water, I tease them, they were mocking at me at that point of time. And when I reflect on that, I really feel that at times, you have to really be out of the box. I was out of the box, and I think I'm really enjoying what I'm doing right now, working in the area of sustainability, civil engineering, teaching, research, working on circular economy. All of those things, used to be fashion statements at that point of time, but now, they are very much a part of our life.
I agree. I totally agree, and I think I have a very similar, not as renowned a background as yours, but I remember I picked up civil engineering too in 1995, and everyone in the family was, Why are you picking civil?" Everyone was talking about computer science that those days. Yeah, so I can relate to where you are coming from. But I think one question here is two things, right? One, why you picked up civil engineering that time? What was that you saw in civil engineering as a branch?
See, I always had a flair to do engineering. My dad was an engineer, and I was always brought up in the company of my dad's friends who were engineers. And again, there was one movie that I saw when I was very young, Roti Kapda Makan. If I remember vaguely, Amitabh Bachchan was
Yeah.
the lead role in that movie. And again, if you look at that movie, I mean, food,
Mhm.
shelter, and clothing is something that will always be evergreen.
Correct.
Now, again, you come to India. I come here every year almost. I've done about 20 trips in last 18 years since I've been in Australia. And every time I come here, I find that, we need more roads. We need more infrastructure. We need more water treatment plants. We need more landfill sites. We need more buildings. I mean, in 90s, if there was a 3-storied building and if you were living in that 3-storied building, people were not very comfortable.
Correct.
But now, you have, 20 stories, 30 stories. So obviously, instead of growing horizontally, we are now growing vertically, and that is possible only because of civil engineering. Again, the clothes that we are wearing, the fabric, all of that is textile engineering. Again, we are in a video podcast, and most people might think, it is just IT. It's not IT. It's possible only because of mechanical engineers. It's only possible because of civil engineers. The kind of lights that we have here,
Correct,
the
correct.
kind of ambience that we have here is all because of civil engineering, architecture, interior decoration, and all those things. So all of those things are evergreen things.
I agree. I agree. No, I think I'm with you on that. But still till today, a lot of parents will come to me and they will say these are like traditional branches. And if I look at the demographics in India, every across various states, there are multiple hundreds of engineering colleges, but IT is what is ruling. Students are not still picking up civil engineering, and
See, engineering is a profession where you need to go on the ground and start doing
I agree.
work on the
Yes,
ground. And
yes.
often, you know, what I have felt, parents have become overprotective,
Mm.
and everyone wants their children to do a white collar job.
Mm. Mm.
But think about any
Yeah.
airport. India has amazing airports now,
Correct.
and our airports in India are better than airports that we have in Australia. How did they come up in first place? It was because of civil engineers. The other interesting perspective that needs to be taken now, and again, I think parents need to think about this. Way back in 80s or 90s, a civil engineer would work only on civil engineering things.
Correct.
But these days, when we educate our students in Australian universities, we try to make them systems engineers.
Mm.
They don't think only about civil engineering, they also think about other streams of engineering. For example, we teach them project management, and when you have to study project management, and when you have to execute projects, and when you want to finish a project in 8 months instead of 12 months or 16 months, as it would happen in the traditional world, obviously you need more tools, and we equip our students with those tools. And again, when they use those tools, they would need some IT skills to do that.
Correct.
We help them understand what is systems thinking. We help them become global citizens, so that if they have to do a project in India, what are the additional things they have to think about compared to doing the same project in Australia. So there are a lot of things that we teach our students, but for sure I will say that you can't get rid of civil engineers altogether. It might sound like the old traditional brick and mortar industry, but it's much more than that. And again, you will see in India, we will stop using brick and mortar the way we do in our traditional construction. We might get those plaster boards and timbers to construct houses. We will be working with smart homes. Now, smart home is an evolving technology, evolving area of work. People will like to design their house in a better way so that the house is climate proof.
Acha,
Right?
that's very interesting.
5 डिग्री टेम्परेचर हो गया, बहुत सर्दी हो गई है, तो I mean there should be good heating system in the house. You have a prolonged summer, as climate is changing and Delhi has been experiencing
Correct.
very peak temperatures. How is your house well insulated so that the cooling that you are doing is actually effective, and you do not get a very high energy bill? How do you put solar panels on your rooftops? All of those things are interesting things which are coming up slowly.
And I agree. I think being Delhi, so we are Delhiite and we are experiencing one of the worst, most highly pollution in our city. And suddenly we see during this time, like 3-4 months of the year, we try and spend more time at home. And because it's the temperatures are low, you have to have all those heaters on to be inside the house. And I think this concept of smart homes which you're talking about, it's an upcoming technology, because I've heard about smart cities. I know the government of India is spending a lot of resources and there's a different ministry altogether around smart cities. But if we deep dive, you're talking about smart homes, and this is all civil engineering, right?
It is all civil engineering. A smart city is a top-down approach, whereas a smart home is a bottoms-up approach. On the other hand, when people are working from home, right? These days, you have the flexibility to work from home. And if you are in a home that is, very noisy and you can't concentrate,
Correct.
if you are in a home which is not very comfortable, you will not enjoy the work there, right? So again, all of these things might sound like fashion statements again, comfort and all of those things, but these are possible only because civil engineers can design better houses for you, where you will enjoy the ambience of your house. You would like to stay in your house and be more productive, and that's where civil engineers are really useful.
And this is what are you saying also, that this is what we are now teaching to our civil engineers so that they can implement all this in the workforce.
Of course, this was just a simple example. Everyone will not get into the housing industry.
Right.
But again, if you look at the severe shortage that we have in the housing sector in India or overseas, it's massive. In Australia, the last election that we had in 2025, May 2025, housing was an important topic. A lot of people still do not own a house. And again, because of the housing scarcity, the government is trying to do several things. And again, for the government to be able to construct, they need civil engineers, right? Again, if you need a good airport, if you need a very good hospital, if you need a 12-lane freeway, highway, I mean, civil engineers have to do it. I'm not undermining the contribution of IT or AI,
Yes.
but what I'm saying is that all streams of knowledge work hand in hand to get things done. Now, often parents would say, let my child get into AI industry and start working into
Correct.
the AI industry.
This is what everybody wants now.
Yeah, because it's a white collar
Right.
job, and everyone thinks that AI is going to be
Rule the
massive,
world. Yeah.
which is correct. But again, see who is going to use AI. Civil engineering is going to use AI. Biotechnology is going to use AI. Mechanical engineers are going to use AI. Project managers are going to use AI. Finance industry has to use AI. So again, AI is a tool that will be used in an industry, right?
Correct,
So
correct.
so our engineers, our budding professionals have to understand this, that AI is a tool that they have to learn and implement in their respective
Industries.
If everyone starts doing
AI.
IT and AI, who is going to
Use
use it?
that.
Who is going to use it?
I agree.
And that is a niche market. Very recently, I was in IIT Roorkee, where we organized an event on AI and water management. It was a 2-day event organized along with Federation, IIT Roorkee, Victoria University, and it was funded by the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade in Australia. And over 2 days, we deliberated that yes, AI can be used in the water industry. But do you think AI can replace the water engineers? The answer is no.
Oh, okay.
Of course, the water engineers will see how they can use AI, how they can use AI to optimize their operation, get some messages. But again, eventually the work has to be done by water engineers who are specialized. And my ex professor told me when I was studying water engineering and environmental engineering that, Harpreet, you are doing a big favor to the world. I said, how? He said that if we do not get good quality water, and if our water is not treated after it has been contaminated by us, everyone will pick up a lot of diseases, health issues and all. And when that kind of thing happens, you as a water engineer are actually making sure that the water treatment plant is able to deliver good quality water, which when we use for our cooking and for eating and for drinking and for bathing, I don't fall sick. So again, water engineers in some ways are reducing the number of patients who are actually landing up in hospitals.
I agree, and I think at somewhere listening to this, I think civil engineers are the most trustworthy, because when I walk into a building, I walk into it confidently. When I drink water, I walk in confidently because there's some civil engineer back there who's doing that job for us, to making our lives easy.
That's totally right. And again, for all those who aspire to become civil engineers, I think they need to find the passion. And again, I have not constructed any buildings, but I've been part of a few, engineering projects. And when I see that project up and live and running, I really feel very good when I see that.
Correct.
So that's altogether a different feeling that you get. And again, the way our infrastructure is being added up, you can't get rid of civil engineers. Of course, it's an evergreen industry.
Good. So now that we have understood, and I understand that civil engineers play a very vital role and they are no more traditional, the next question is, when you picked up after your engineering, you told me you have done your master's and you worked in India. What made you go to Australia? Why you picked up at that time? Australia was like, I don't know how many people used to go to Australia like 20 years back. What made you pick Australia as a destination?
See, Australia is a beautiful place. The population of Australia is about 26 million, and in India, we produce about more than 26 million people every year.
Yeah.
So you can see, the land area of Australia is comparatively much higher compared to India. The density of population is only about 2 persons, about 1.5 to 2 persons per square kilometer. So it's a land of opportunities. It is a land of opportunities. Again, because of the less population pressures, the air quality is very good. You can be outside, lay on the floor and watch the night sky and enjoy the stars. Beautiful beaches to enjoy. So again, it offers a very promising place for anyone who settles down. Often we just think about bread and butter, we do not think about quality of life.
Correct.
And again, in case of India, when there's this everyday problem of the survival of the fittest, that is something because of which people just think about bread and butter. But again, think about the quality of life, how long it takes for you to travel from your home to your place of work. And when I tell this to some of my relatives, they laugh at me, and they ponder, this is amazing, they can't believe it. I live in Pakenham, which is about 105 kilometers from my workplace, Federation University's Gippsland campus, and it takes me only about 65 minutes to travel between the 2 points. On a busy day, it will take me 67 minutes, and if I am overspeeding a bit, it might take me 63 minutes, right? So that is the quality of life that the place offers. Again, when I used to work at TERI, I was at TERI, the Energy and Resources Institute at Lodhi Road. I worked
In India?
in India
Yeah.
for about 7 years there, and I realized that I need to upskill, and upskilling means you start challenging yourself, and I thought challenging myself by doing a PhD at an Australian university would be a good thing to do. So that's where I decided to apply for a scholarship. I got a scholarship and I started my PhD, and those 7 years have been life-changing years for me. I have learned a lot. Again, when you are in India with your parents, you are protected, but
Correct.
once you move out to a new place, to a new environment, you face certain challenges, and all of those help you build your career, help you build your skills, help you become a better professional. And that's where I thought Australia is an amazing place to go. Often I was asked this question, why didn't I choose Canada, why didn't I choose US? Again, for Canada, I thought it was very cold there. US again is extremely populated, and we keep hearing of several crime issues in US, and Australia is a very safe country. And in a nutshell, I would say it's a land of opportunities.
And also, I think with respect to civil engineering, the core engineering, we keep on hearing a lot around Australia's mining industry. Australia has a lot of focus around developing the regional areas. And at a ground root level, how do you see this as an opportunity for civil engineering students at your university?
I was talking more initially about the choice of Australia as a place to study.
Correct.
But again, if we come specifically to engineering or even civil engineering, the opportunities are massive. Again, a lot of infrastructure is being put up. I think if my memory doesn't fail me, we still have about 40% of our roads in Australia which are not paved.
Oh,
So, you need those roads to be paved, and who will do that? Civil engineers have to execute those
Correct.
projects. Again, our water industry is going a step ahead. They want to produce water by having a zero carbon footprint. And when you do that,
That,
you need civil engineers,
Correct,
right?
correct.
You need to rework your strategy to produce water. Our airports need to be refurbished, so we need civil engineers. Housing industry, there's an extreme shortage. Houses have to be constructed, houses have to be designed, houses have to be planned. You have to do the geotechnical engineering for that, civil engineers. Now this is just some information, but again, go to Engineers Australia website and look at the demand for engineers, specifically civil engineers. You will find all the information. You will also find the states where the demand is more compared to the other states. So that is a very good resource to look at. On top of that, I could just tell in my class, by the time in a 4-year degree we get to the 3rd year, our students have got jobs already.
Oh, that's very interesting.
And that's because Federation has used to have an industry placement program, but now we have a co-op model as well, where we we tie up a student with a with an industry. The student works in the industry for at least 60 days to acquire some, ground hands-on experience. It then gets related with the units that they are studying. It's a paid internship kind of thing. And once the student has done well in that industry, in that, co-op model, there's a good chance that they may be absorbed by the same industry,
same company. Yeah,
or
yeah.
by someone else, and they would already have some runs on the board in terms of an experience in the industry. So I think, coming back to my students, by third year they have got jobs, and in the final year I really have to, convince them to come to the
Come to the
classes
university.
and, attend the lectures and make it more engaging. So I think, the key message here is, for civil engineers, there are very good opportunities if the student is good, if the student is dedicated, if the student is doing, their studies well, their projects well. Finding a job is a cakewalk.
See, I think these are like words which are like unbelievable. That finding a job is a cakewalk. Because that's the worry which most parents will come with when they are talking about international education, when they're talking about study abroad. The biggest question to their mind is return on investment. And I think this is a reassurance and saying that your students, by the time they are in pre-final year, most likely they will have a job, is something which I think a lot of parents will want to look at civil engineering as a career in Australia. So that's what I want to emphasize about Australia as a destination for civil engineering as a career.
I think you've summarized it very well. I just want to add a small bit to here. At times, um, there are students who have finished off year 12,
Mhm.
and they might think that they would like to do a bachelor's in India and then go overseas.
Correct.
I will strongly make an appeal to them. If you really have to build an engineering career, don't wait for 4 years. Do it now. That is very very good. The way we impart education in Australia is quite unique. It is still different from the way it is done in Indian universities. I have taught a few programs at Indian universities as well in the recent years, and I think the way we impart education in Australia is quite different, and it's quite challenging. We challenge our students, and we make sure that the students are producing original work and all. On the other hand, there is another segment of students who have finished a bachelor's already.
Bachelor's of Civil already, yeah.
And I'm not going to say that the doors are closed for them. They can always come and do a 2-year master's program with us. Our programs are very uniquely designed. For example, in the final year, we have an honors project for the students, and that honors project is about 50% of their workload in each of the 2 semesters in final year. And when they do those live projects with us, with the industry, they acquire a lot of experience, confidence, and they are able to understand as a systems engineer, as a systems thinker, on how to crack a problem. And the key impetus of our universities and Federation University in particular is to create global citizens who are problem solvers, right? Now, when you are a problem solver, and if you have that skill, talk of any problem, you can fix it. That is the kind of education that we provide to our students.
So, sir, again, coming back to you picked up that audience who has done civil engineering here and now they want to come and study masters. So normally एक चीज जो यहाँ पर इंडिया में बहुत बात होती है कि you go to a country and they'll give you 2 or 3 years of work visas to work in that country. Do you think international students at your university are able to, in our case, Indian students, are able to get full-time jobs after their education is over? Or is it only true with Australian citizens?
The co-op model is good, where they get hands-on experience. The final year research project is a good experience for them to get hands-on experience. If a student is dedicated, if the student is doing things in the right way, doing all the project work, doing the industry projects as well, I don't think finding a job is difficult. And to my knowledge, I can't even think of a single student from the last, about 12-13 years of my teaching career who has not found a job. I can't even think of a single student who would have written me an email, Harpreet, help me find a job.
Okay, oh, that comes as assurance, wherein I think every civil engineer studying in India will want to look at FedUni now to study civil engineering.
Yeah, we are a
Yeah.
regional university. We
Mm.
have a few campuses, and regional areas are the areas that are growing. I
Mm.
mean, just like um, 30 years ago, Sikandrabad and Hyderabad were two different cities,
Correct,
but
correct.
now they have practically merged into each other,
Yes,
right?
yes.
The same way, our cities are growing,
Mm.
and we are getting into the fringe areas, regional areas, and a lot of growth is happening in regional areas. And when that growth is happening, that growth cannot happen until and unless we have the civil engineers to do that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, putting a road, putting a water supply network, putting a wastewater collection system. We are going a step ahead where we are started providing water as a treated wastewater to the communities. So there's a special purple pipeline that brings treated wastewater to the houses in the new developments, which can be used for watering the garden, washing the cars, in the toilets and all. And again, who does all of that? Civil and mechanical engineers.
I agree. I think the podcast has sent that message very clearly
Yeah.
that we are no more a traditional branches.
Certainly.
We are the foundation for most of the things which people want to do in their lives. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I mean, think about a phone. I mean, traditionally we had, a phone will take the set out and put it to our ear. The phone technology has changed. But again, if you look at that technology, do you think that technology has changed only because of AI or IT? No. I mean, the way the phones are designed, every time iPhone or Google phones will come up with a new design. They have improvised on the design.
Correct.
But again, for the new design to happen, you will need work from mechanical engineers, sound engineers. So I think it's a multidisciplinary thing, and that's where when students study at Federation University, we don't put them in silos. We don't say that all civil engineers are going to be together for next 4 years and they are not going to mingle up with other engineers. A civil engineer will study certain courses with mechanical engineers. They will
Interesting.
study certain courses with mining engineers. They will study certain courses with with mechatronics engineers, and that's where the acquire
The learning
the
happens.
multidisciplinary skills that will actually shape up the engineer of the future.
So one last thing, sir, before I end this, is a lot of students will come back to me and say, Nikhil, I have already done my civil engineering. If I go and study in Australia, will my degree be valued back in India or not?
Very good point. And I can challenge anyone on that. Spending 2 years in Australia will help them understand what is professionalism, right? Will help them understand what is the best way to do a thing so that you can have the best life of the product. Now, if you construct a house in an unprofessional way, the life of the house might be 10 years, right? I've lived in a house in Australia as a student which was about 60 years old, and I could not feel that house was 60 years old because it was constructed with a level of professional standard.
Correct.
Now again, there is a lot of contribution that we can make to the professional standards in India, and those students who want to relocate back from Australia to India and be a part of the Indian workforce, I think they will acquire a lot of skills which probably are missing currently in the current environment in India, and they will become a big asset to the workforce here.
Acha, that's good. That's good. So before we end it, I'll put it on you. Is there anything, any message, anything you want to tell to students who are looking to study engineering in Australia?
I think the first and foremost thing is that they need to understand what is their passion. Remember, you might finish off a degree, you might work 5 years in the industry, and then you have to find a reason to get up from your bed in the morning. And if you do not have that passion, you will not have the enthusiasm to dress up and go to your work, open your computer, do something innovative. So I think try to understand what is your passion first of all. I'm not saying any branch is better than the other branch, but I'm also telling, don't go by myths that civil engineers will become redundant or engineers will become redundant. That will not happen. The third thing is when you become a disciplinary practitioner, when you know a bit of AI, when you know your discipline, when you know project management, when you know the integration with other areas like economics and social issues, you will be an asset for any community, any organization that you are working for, and you will not have to struggle to find a job. Jobs will be after you. For parents, I would like to, mention this to the parents. Often when they send their kids overseas, the objective is that the child should get a permanent residency. And I don't think that should be the impetus. The impetus should be that my son or my daughter should acquire very good skills so that they are very successful in their careers and they are contributing to the economy. And things like PR and other things will flow on their own. Often I've seen some students will take admission in engineering or in management, and once they land there, they would just switch over to some other course because they would like to save some money for the parents, or they would like to finish off a degree in 2 years and get a residency. I think that shortcut is not the right way to do things.
Correct.
And I have found a lot of people, when they get into their 40s, they really struggle with their lives simply because they are not enjoying the work that they
Do.
would have
The
liked to do.
mistake which they did when they were young,
That's
and
right.
nobody really mentored them.
And one of my PhD supervisors taught me that often we might be focusing on a piece of paper, which is a degree or a qualification, but I think the journey is more important, and the journey cannot be a straight line, a shortcut line.
Correct.
It will be always zigzag, and that zigzag journey will actually build up, hone your skills. And once you become that problem solver, you will solve problems in your family, you will solve problems in your community, you will solve problems in your industry, and then at the end of the day, you will have a very good sleep. That is most important, and that is the quality of life that you want.
Thank you so much. I think it was a very good discussion having you on our show. Thank you so much, Dr.
Nikhil,
Harpreet,
for the
for being here.
opportunity.
Yeah.
And I hope we can provide the viewers some links on further information.
Thank you so much. We'll do that. Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much, everyone, for being us on the show. I think it was a great session, and coming from a civil engineer talking to a civil engineering, I think this podcast was quite biased. We were very clear that okay, you become a civil engineer and you have a great successful career in Australia. So thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you more in our upcoming podcasts. Bye.